What up, gang? Carolina Jackpot coming at you on Sunday morning. I want to do a little bit of a different video, kind of go off the rails a little bit and talk about some advantages and disadvantages to being a 1099 employee versus a 1040 employee. If you don't know what that means, if you're a 1099 employee, it basically means you work for yourself and that you have to pay your own taxes. If you're a 1040 employee, it means you work for a company or you work for someone else, and your taxes get deducted from your paycheck, from your gross income, as it were. And there are advantages and disadvantages to both of these. And I'm not just talking about from a tax perspective. There are benefits from, I'm talking about just from a workability perspective. And that's kind of what I want to touch on. As you know, I did the video several weeks ago where I explained why I stopped running the potato chip route that I really enjoyed doing, and that I put some pretty good content on this channel, kind of chronicling my days doing the potato chips. So just digging right into this, being the 1099 employee means being your own boss, means you own your own business. Well, in my certain case, I didn't exactly own the business. Someone else actually owned the route. In fact, he owned multiple routes in the upstate of South Carolina and in parts of Georgia. However, I was an independent contractor who worked for him, so it was treated as being my own business. So pros, advantages to this. Number one, you're your own boss. Now, to a degree. I had stores I was delivering to, so I had certain cutoff times I had stores that I had to deliver to a certain number of times a week if I were going to be able to keep up with the demand in those particular stores. Now, there were some drivers who would try to cut some corners on some of their stores and work some once a week that need to be worked twice a week that need to be worked 3 times a week, so on and so forth, but they were not able to maximize their sales the way that they should be. Also, in my case, if you're working for someone who owns the entire business, even as an independent contractor, you still have certain things that you need to do for them, certain marks that you have to hit for them. However, it's a lot more, it's just a lot different than if you're a 1040 employee working for an actual company. As long as you're putting in the work and doing what they need you to do, they're not going to bother you at all, ever. That's why I say you're your own boss, because you are, and I was. I mean, out all day long, no phone calls from anyone. Very, very low stress deal as far as that goes. Another pro, no uniform. I mean, there was no uniform that I was wearing that they wanted me to go out every day in. In fact, I could wear jeans, I could wear slacks, I could wear shorts. I chose most days to wear shorts. Number one, because it's more comfortable to get up and down and move around doing the kind of work I was doing, even on the days it was a little bit cold. Number two, I got a sexy set of legs, and I kind of like to show them off a little bit. And that kind of goes into, like I was saying, your own schedule. Didn't really have to work weekends. However, if customer demand dictated that you work weekends, you needed to go in on Saturday morning, fill up a convenience store, fill up a grocery store, take care of a grocery store that was on sale. And it's the same way for any business that you own. They all will have something that needs to be taken care of as far as customer demand for something that may require working outside of the normal hours that you would like to work in or operate in. You do what you got to do to make that money. Some of the cons of doing a 1099 job, and number one, and a lot of this is centered around financial stuff. Number one, you have to make estimated tax payments. A lot of people don't understand how this works. Well, once you get into a 1099 job, you got to get yourself a financial advisor. My financial advisor happens to be the lady that was doing my taxes as well. So they'll point you in the right direction in all this, but basically what you're going to do is 4 times a year, you're going to make an estimated tax payment. And what your financial advisor is going to do is take the gross income that you project to make for the year, and then she's going to kind of look at the expenses that you've had for whatever period that you bring them, and they're going to kind of divvy that out and see how that's going to play out during a year. And those expenses are tax deductible. So they're going to figure out how much you're going to need to pay in taxes, an estimated tax payment that you would have to, that if you were working a 1040 job would be taken out every week of your paycheck, taken out of your gross off the top. And you just basically have to pay that in. Now, I will tell you that your expenses, like in my case, gas was an expense. That was my major expense, was gas to put in my truck on my route. I also kept receipts for my shoes, because I bought a new pair of shoes every 2 or 3 months. Any pairs of shorts or t-shirts that I purchased to work during the day on my route, those are all tax deductible. Those are items I needed to do my job. Just little things. I mean, markers, pens, price stickers that I ordered off Amazon. I told you about the little Starburst signs I ordered. All those were supplies that I needed to do my job. So those are considered to be tax deductible. Now, those tax deductions they're not as much, it's not going to help you out as much as you think it's going to help you out. It's really not. A lot of people go into those jobs with a premonition that, well, I'll just be able to write off all the gas as a tax expense and I'm not going to have to pay any taxes. That's fake news. That's not true. And you'll be in for a big surprise on that deal. Now, I feel like the financial advisor I have, and the lady that's doing the taxes, is on the up and up. She has my best interest in mind. Some of these people may get some bad financial advice. I may be getting a hold of one that is really not helping them the way they should be. But those deductions, they are significant, but they're not as significant as what you think they're going to be. Number 2 is you have to get your own medical insurance. Now, you're going to have to go outside and purchase your own medical insurance. And quite often those medical insurance policies that you purchase that are not through an employer, they're not great. I know I paid my own medical insurance for myself and my son since the end of 2018. And I actually, when I was working at the company I worked for after I worked at Ingles Markets, I paid my own insurance instead of having it deducted from my paycheck there, because the insurance would not cover my son for a reasonable premium for whatever reason. They just didn't want to cover dependents. So then it's the same deal if you're working a 1099, you have to go purchase it on the outside. That insurance likely may not be as expensive as some that it would be if you were getting it through your payroll deduction, but the insurance may not be as good as it would be if you were working a 1040 job. Now that's just me. You can shop around, but from what I've seen and what I've heard, the policies are not always great. So it's best to try to stay healthy and stay out of the doctor's office. Maybe go to the dentist's office once a year if you can, and let that be the end of it. However, like with me, I need glasses right now. I didn't have vision insurance on that other thing. It wouldn't pay jack diddly squat on that. And it's kind of nuts. They also, me, like a lot of people out there, I have to take anxiety medicine because I get anxious. Well, any of the doctor visits that I had, that was like listed as one of the things that they did for me. In addition to checking my physical well-being, checking me for cancer, just all that stuff. One of them was like trying to, diagnose my anxiety and talking me through that and just seeing how I'm doing there. Guess what? This place only wants to pay just a small portion of the bill because the anxiety services, the mental health stuff is not covered under this insurance. And that's just absolutely ridiculous. So you may be able to shop around and find one that's actually good. I was not able to do that. Also, 401k. So you'll have to go to a 401 advisor like your Edward Jones people or whoever else is a financial advisor out there. I have stuff with Edward Jones. That's why I mentioned them. And set up your own 401k there. Now, if you're not contributing to a 401k, well, what are you doing? I mean, that's just silly. I mean, you're going to need extra money on top of your Social Security to retire. I mean, even if you can't afford to put in a lot, put in a little. I don't mean to try to turn this into like a Dave Ramsey financial seminar here, and definitely I'm not the person to be giving it to you, but you have to set that up as well. So, in essence, with this financial stuff, you can do all of it, but it's all, you have to be disciplined with it. You have to be disciplined on those taxes as well, because what's going to happen is your paycheck is going to look huge. You're going to be like, oh man, look how much money I'm making right now. You got to pay your taxes, and you got to put that back. You got to put it to the side, and you can't be touching it. You can't be dipping into your tax fund, because you're going to have to pay estimated tax every 3 months. Now, you could save it all up and pay it all at the end of the year. You could do that. Some people don't do the estimated tax. They just pay it all, and more power to you. Those are probably the folks that have been doing the 1099 jobs a lot longer and really know how much they're going to have to pay at the end of each year. I found it easier just to do it every 4 months. And then, I mean, you're going to be worn out a lot if you're working a job where you're working for yourself, because you're going to be putting in work, and you're not punching a time clock. So you're actually working a lot more hours than what you really realize that you're doing. And the job I had, was a get up early type job, work late type job. Other people who are working 1099 jobs, say you're a YouTube content creator, well, you might do that at different hours. It all depends. One nice thing about that is you may not have to leave home if you're doing content that doesn't include going out into the public and doing something out there interesting. So those are pros and cons of a 1099 job. Now, the 1040 job. Here's some pros of that. So you're probably going to have set hours somewhat. Now, if you work like a manufacturing job or a delivery job for one of the big companies, they may ask you to work some overtime. They may ask you to pick up a shift here or there. They may ask you to trade, come in earlier and get off earlier, come in later and work later. But you're probably going to have a set number of hours a week that you are working. Also, a lot of it entails, especially if you're doing a job in the retail sector, which I'm doing, you're going to have to work some on the weekends, but that also means you're going to get the occasional, or maybe not occasional, maybe every week, you'll have at least one day where you get off during the week. Now, that was hard for me to do at my other job, at the 1099 job. I was working all during the week because that's when the people were there to take care of you as far as from the check-in perspective, and that's when you were there to meet the customer demand. It's nice to have all the weekends off, but it's also nice sometimes to have a day off during the week where you can just get shit done. You need doctor's appointments. You got to go to Lowe's to see about getting those cabinets worked on, and hell, that person might not be there on the weekends. There are a lot of things still that there's not people to help and assist you on the weekends. There's errands that you have to do that are easier to handle during the week. So that's another benefit to that. Also, like PTO and vacation time, you'll actually build that up. Sometimes if you're an experienced employee, a seasoned individual like myself, getting hired into another company and you have experience working other places, you'll come right in and you'll get some vacation time or sick time right off the get-go. Now, some places, if you're an entry-level employee, it may take you a while to build those things up. But on a 1099 type job, you don't have vacation time. That's another thing you have to be disciplined on. You can take a vacation, but in the case of what I was doing, you have to get someone else to cover for you while you're on vacation. So if you're a YouTube content creator and you want to take a week's vacation, well, I mean, you just don't create content for a week. And then you double up on it when you come back. Can't really do that if you're providing a service to people and you're a 1099 person. So you have to kind of find someone to do it for you, and you're going to have to pay them something. And you also have to save up for your vacation because you don't have vacation pay. A 1040 job normally will give you vacation pay, however much, or PTO pay, however much you may have accrued, they're going to give it to you. Your insurance and your 401k is normally taken out of your gross pay also. That's another plus to working a 1040 job. That's easier for a lot of people. It's easier for me to do that. So I'm not having to sit around here and sit in the office and punch on the ad machine and figure stuff like that up all the time when I'm not working. I mean, it's already taken care of for me. Now, looking at the 1040 job and some of the cons that go with that. And there are tons and tons of 1040 jobs out there, and they're literally in tons of different fields. There's no way that I could cover it all because I haven't experienced it all. I kind of look at things from a retail point of view because that's what I do, and that's what I'm most familiar with, obviously. But a lot of these same concepts and principles apply to a ton of different jobs. Number one, dealing with customers. That's kind of a drawback sometimes, and obviously, the customers are going to be the lifeblood of any business, and generally, they are not all bad. There are some bad apples, though, that kind of sour you sometimes on that type of work. It can be really frustrating, especially in this day and age. You know, we're living in the me generation, the generation of entitlement, the generation of virtue signaling and fake outrage, and you just have people who they'll just grind your gears. That's all I can say. You have to have a pretty thick skin if you're going to deal those type of customers. Now, doing a 1099 job, the customers I dealt with were basically the people who ran the store. And I had done most of it or all of these jobs in the past, so I spoke their language, and we got along like peas and carrots, So that's one of the drawbacks there. Those were my customers. The general public is your customers when you're doing the 1040 job. A lot of times, too, at 1040 jobs, look, every company's goal is to make money. Every company has a different kind of breakdown, a different methods, different things that they want to try, different things they've implemented to try to make money and cut costs. It's all about making money and cutting costs so that you can boost the bottom line. However, there are people high up the food chain sometimes that they have expectations sometimes that are a little bit too high or difficult to meet, very difficult to meet, given the resources that you may have in the particular place that you're working. It may be staffing, may be an issue, a workload may be an issue. There are tons of different things that we like to say a lot of these folks don't live in the real world. They kind of are observing from afar, and they're really not there with the sleeves rolled up and kind of getting into the middle of things and don't really know what's going on all the time. It can be kind of frustrating. And I'm saying this not trying to be confrontational or demeaning there, because I've kind of been a little higher up on the food chain before, and I've kind of seen things from those perspectives too. But sometimes people need to reel it in a little bit. Just dealing with people in general, it can be tough sometimes when you're working for yourself. That's it. I mean, you're working for yourself. When you're working a 10-40 job, lots of times, especially if you're a supervisor, the people that you've got working under you, I mean, you don't always know what you're going to get. You can have someone who was absolutely great last night, did a great job for you, and then they come in the next day, they have an attitude, and you don't. I mean, what's your attitude problem for? Well, they may be having problems at home. Well, I mean, sometimes, you ain't got time to be a psychiatrist, and you don't have time to figure out. You have to have empathy, but at the same time, there's a job to be done, and it can be very frustrating, especially dealing with poor performers or lack of performance, people not coming into work when they're supposed to, people not showing up, people unwilling to come in and pick up the slack and help the team out. It's supposed to be in those type jobs, it's all about teams. You can always have real strong teams that have each other's back. So that can be extremely annoying and a real beatdown for you as well. Also, driving back and forth to work, you have no gas allowance. There's unless you're doing something I don't know about or never heard of, there's no gas allowance to drive back and forth to work. Now, if you're traveling out of town somewhere to help with a special project, or if you're attending some type of training, or you're going out and training new people at some other place, and you're having to get lodging for the evening or multiple evenings, or you're just exorbitantly driving a long distance in your own vehicle, then you may be getting some type of compensation for that. But as a general rule, if your workplace is 35, 40 minutes away, you're not going to get compensated for your gas for driving back and forth. You also don't get paid for that time either in most cases. As I said, working the 1099 job, it's a tax write-off. It's not always what it's cracked up to be, but yet it is still a tax write-off. So those are just some of the pros and cons of both sectors there. Since I've experienced both of them for a little bit, I figured I'd come on here and kind of try to educate some folks, because I've had a lot of questions asked to me, especially about the 1099 job and how that works. So hope that kind of helps, and I hope y'all found this content interesting today. It's the middle of nowhere as far as the sports season goes, right? I mean, college football content it's few and far between. We're kind of doing some schedule preview videos right now, but kind of doing some basketball videos, and that's not everybody's favorite topic either, especially if you're a college football fan. A lot of them really just aren't into the college basketball, or they must not like to admit it or something, because there are a lot of people that watch the NCAA tournament. So anyway, that's about all I got to say about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch y'all on the next piece. I'm out.